The Mindflayer is a highly advanced combat machine found in the last layer of Ultrakill's Hell, but her humanoid feminine body, which is extremely appealing, definitely got people thinking about one specific question. If you were the last human on Ultrakill's Earth, would you actually smash the Mindflayer? Today, I base myself on the Ultrakill's lore and on science to find out the answer to that question, and I have to say it's definitely way more complicated than it looks, because of the complicated reality surrounding the Ultrakill universe and the Mindflayer lore itself, and also because we don't even know if she has the necessary equipment to hit or not. So for you to better understand the practical study, we first need to know why and how this thing was created. Alright, so a long time ago, there was a global conflict called the Final War, and this wasn't just some regional conflict. Every single country on Earth was involved. This war killed so many people that in order to spare human soldiers, nations started building autonomous combat robots, but the tech was so advanced that somehow they managed to make these robots run purely on fresh blood. This blood was their sole source of energy and auto-repair. The war kept escalating, spawning several different lines of robots in all kinds of sizes and power levels, each one stronger and more destructive than the last. The final war ended suddenly when humans realized they were about to wipe each other out completely, and since then it started new peace. Alright, but where does the Mindflayer fit in all of this? Okay, hear me out. Since the Earth was left totally devastated, humans started digging deep into the ruined grounds looking for resources, and that's when they stumbled upon the gates of Hell. It's believed that during these so-called Hell expeditions, humanity tried to mine Hell itself to extract minerals and Hell energy as an alternative fuel source to replace blood. Shortly after this contact, for reasons the game kept mysterious, mankind was completely wiped out. With no human left on the surface, the machines lost their only fuel source, which is blood, so driven by pure instinct, thousands of them began descending in mass, hitting deep into the layers of Hell, going on massive expeditions searching for any kind of energy source. And that's where we find the Mindflayer. You see, Hell in Ultrakill is not just a place. Hell itself is a living, sadistic, intelligent entity, and it absolutely loved the arrival of the machines. So for its own amusement, Hell started messing with them. It would steal spare parts that would mysteriously vanish and use its own energy to fuse robots with the souls of condemned sinners, creating these half biological, half mechanical abominations. Right in the middle of all this chaos of the expeditions and Hell modifications, the Mindflayers emerge. They belong to the graded machines category, which are intelligent robots sent to the expeditions that learned to channel and master Hell's own magical energy to attack from a distance. As they descended to the layers, the AI of these machines began to change. Unlike the others they just wanted heavy armor to kill things, the Mindflayer became fixated, obsessed with human form. So she built this fake body of an extremely curvy human woman that most people would say it's a baddie. Now to figure out whether she's actually got the equipment to hit or not, I first did the obvious thing. I looked directly at her, and obviously there's nothing there, but that doesn't mean she couldn't create one. After all, she can take whatever form she wants. But here's the thing, as we know, Mindflayers didn't build that body for clapping. It was purely artistic narcissism, but that's exactly where our ace in the hole comes in. Since they are obsessed with their own image, you could theoretically spark an interest in her to add a new USB to herself. In other words, to get her to actually want to participate in the clapping, you can tell her that by doing the clap with you, she will become a more complete human and even more beautiful. I genuinely think this would work and she would actually accept it, because think with me, the Mindflayer is just a floating cube-like machine with a trailing black tentacles, right? And out of all infinite types of forms she could replicate, she specifically chose to be a hot human. Like, come on bro, you cannot tell me this wasn't for the sole purpose of gun baiting. And she's so narcissistic that if you damage her body, she literally explodes just because she isn't pretty anymore. So getting her to accept the proposal by telling her she needs to crank to be a full human is not that hard. She would use her advanced intelligence to mold a new hollow shell that features a human USB port, but keep in mind that this body would not be solid inside. Even if she tried it out of pure obsession, the harsh reality of Hell and the limitations of her own engine would force her back to a hollow body. A solid body would make her an easy target in Hell due to excessive excessive weight. The stabilization engine in her head and floating torso would lose their ability to fly, and solid legs and whips would be way too heavy for her thrusters. As a result, she'd lose the ability to fly and would be forced to crawl or just crash straight into the ground. This would obviously leave her furious and she'd lose her vanity completely. So just the USB port alone is fine, okay? The rest can just be hollow. Now, to actually put it off, we need to account for the insane temperature Hells operate at. This thing is probably walking around with about 200 to 300 degrees Celsius, but wait, why doesn't her plastic exterior melt at all? If you ask me, I would say it's because she can manipulate the Hell energy and use it to somehow make the plastic immune to fire, or because the plastic is just hella strong. By the way, if you don't know what Hell energy is, it's basically the primary raw material for the magical and technological attacks of almost every creature in the game. The Mindflayer stands out for being one of the few machines that manage to fully adapt and master this energy, applying it in lasers and teleportation. In our case, she could use this energy to apply some protective effect on us, preventing us from getting burned during the whole clapping. Well, even with that problem solved, anyone trying to clap the Mindflayer will still have to deal with one tiny issue that I call the inside of the beast's mind. You see, this being has not real skin and no functional organs, but she does have consciousness and emotions, and because of that, even if somehow you manage to convince her to do the clapping with you, at the end of the day, the Mindflayer's vanity would override everything, and bro, that's not a good thing, because sure, you could get her to agree and you could get her to create the part for it, but in the heat of the moment, if for any reason you accidentally scratch or damage any part of her other chassis, you would end up hurting her ego. This would immediately trigger her enraged mode, making her kill you on the spot or self-destruct just because she got damaged. She values her own creation so much that she'd rather commit first self-destruction, generating a fatal explosion, than see her plastic body get wrecked. So in short, yes, it would technically be possible to clap the Mindflayer, but because of her intense emotions and extremely vanity, your survival rate would be incredibly low. She would attack you or blow herself up over this slightest little thing, and honestly, I think she's more of something you should just look and appreciate from a very long distance. And if some of you start talking about oh but Freddy, I can fix her in the comments, I can tell you right now that you have no salvation either, just like the Mindflayer itself. After all, what's the point of trying something that is guaranteed to get you killed, right? Anyways, I hope this video was useful to you. That's just my theory, and if you got your own, drop it in the comments down below. And if you like the content, subscribe to the channel so I can make more studies like this. I love you all. Bye.